Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This is going to be a brand new series on how you do decision making in AoE 4. I'm going to be showing you games, not build orders, and these games will be explained. I will talk to you about my thinking in the games and how I make decisions based on the situations that I'm in. So yeah, if you enjoy this series, leave a like, comment and subscribe, and yeah, let's get to it. Whenever I'm going into a match, I'm always looking at the map and the matchup. I'm looking for, well, what is possible to open up with. In this matchup versus the Ayubids, it's a very gold-dependent Civ, and so it can be a pretty good idea to open up with a Dark Age Rush, which is the decision behind doing that. I'm going to open up with a Dark Age Rush because in this map, most of the time, gold is going to be pretty far forward, as you can see here in my opponent's base. So Dark Age Rush, and then I'm going to follow up with some sort of feudal. I'm only going to make one man-at-arm because the plan is to go and disrupt the gold. It's not to kill villagers. That's really hard to do, especially when you are at the higher level. People get better at microing their units. So what I do here is I bring forward this man-at-arm. I'm going to go now and hit the gold. I've already scouted the gold and the berries, so I know approximately where most of its villages are. It's important to note that you're not going to be able to hit the wood or the sheep or the inner part of the berries on normal maps, but you can always hit the gold. I always look at the gold vein. If it's below 3900 gold, what I can tell from that is that he does not have the age up because he's above 3900. If he was below 3900, he would be able to age up. So what I can do here is I can continue to make man-at-arm so I can stay on one man-at-arm, but what will inevitably happen if people know how to deal with this is they will pull a lot of villagers. So the plan is I'm going to disrupt the gold. I'm going to be disrupting his food gathering. As you can see up here, he's not close to getting enough food for the age up. He now has to pull a lot of villagers because he cannot gather with just a few because there's a man-at-arm in the way. So he has to gather with a lot of villagers. This will ultimately delay him a lot. So the whole goal of this is to delay him and then try to make something out of that advantage. Ayubids, they age up a little bit later than normal Abbasid because they had a nerf recently, which means this delay makes him age up even later. It's actually going to be closer to 5 minutes before he ages up. And this gives me a lot of tempo, which is the whole point of opening up with the Dark Age barracks, is to build up tempo. I'm also dealing a lot of damage to these villages. You don't want to run inside of the TC range, of course, so try to stick just to outside of that circle here. I've already done the damage I need now, and I just need to be here, put the pressure on. The whole point of this is to put a lot of pressure. Scouting-wise, I want to get back to my base before 2 minutes. As you can see, I've made a little bit of a mistake here, and I've actually only got one sheep left. You can have 8 villagers around one sheep to gather food if you've positioned it correctly under your TC, so a little bit out. And so new villagers go to the wood instead. I'm gathering gold as well. I'm going to be aging up pretty soon. Here comes the scout. And I'm going to send the sheep in. Man-at-arm, just attacking the mining camp right now. As I said before, we're just applying pressure. Alright. Now I am going to be killing a few more sheep. And I'm going to be aging up in a second. This age up could be a little bit quicker if I didn't have the idle time, but it's still good. So now I'm aging up with 4 villagers. I leave 4 in food, rest go to wood. This is not a build order. I don't have a build order in mind, but I have an idea of how I want to do this. I want to gather gold for a wheelbarrow. I want to get enough wood so I can start pumping out longbows, which means I have to have 4 villagers for villager production, and then 2 more at around the middle of the age up, so I can begin producing longbows with that extra food that I gather during the Dark Age. So immediately, a couple longbows. I don't need 10 longbows to put pressure. I can do that immediately. As you can see, he's aged up at 5:15-ish. And that's pretty late. So what can we get from this? Well, his age up signals out of 2 things. Either he went with 3 villages, or he went with the 300 wood age up. I did not see any villagers come out of the landmark itself, so I'm assuming he's going to go for the second TC. The question is, where is he going to put it? And so the whole point now is, I'm going to have to try to figure that out. I can see he's gathered stone. I can see he has a berry down here. He also has berry here, gold here, stone here, and deers up here. So up here is probably a pretty big point of interest for him. But I see that he's building the TC in the back here. This is a big decision point during the game because, well, I cannot take this TC out without going under his TC. And so this is a really good defensible position for him. But he doesn't secure any resources with the TC. So what do I do here? Well, you have to be aware of the TC placement. It's hard to attack, so that's sort of out of the window, not really something we can do. But we can still apply pressure, and then we can go Castle Age instead, because he's playing defensive, he's put his TC in the back, he's not in, you know, a state where he can control this game. So he has to put the TC in the back, and I don't really need to make a lot more units. I have to look for stable, so that I can make spearmen, but I don't want to make spearmen if he doesn't make a stable. So what I've done here is I've made 5 longbows, I have the same man at arm upgraded, and now I'm actually going to fast castle. Got a wheelbarrow coming in now, and in a moment I'm going to be pulling most of these wood villages, make farms with the wood that I was initially going to make longbows with, and then I'm going to go to the boar afterwards. Normally I wouldn't have made 8 farms now, but this was wood that I would have otherwise gone for longbows with, in this case that he was only going to go with 1 TC and then go aggression, try to build up an army, try to get control of the game. So that's sort of the reason behind going castle here, is he's giving up all his map control, he's not applying pressure because he went for this second town center. If he was 1 TC and he was building production and units were coming out now, I could not just go castle, because then in like a minute he would probably wipe all my longbows with a few horsemen. And so I have to be considerate of going Castle Age at the right time. Here I can do it quite early, get my second TC from going Castle Age. And so what I do here is I pull 8 villages from wood over to the boar, because it's quicker than setting up farms. And then the whole goal is I have a timing now, sort of a tempo built timing, where I can go castle, get relics, and get better units out in terms of man at arms with upgrades. Get the boar. This is very typical, not something you would do normally with English, and not something I would recommend normally, unless you're in this type of situation where you've got a lot of tempo build up, you're not under pressure. You've got all the map control because he's in his base. You can go for the boar, because then you don't have to spend a lot of wood on farms, which is, you know, it's an extra step that you remove where you don't have to gather wood. Now you just go and gather immediately, which is also another case for going for the boar. It's not only a fast food gather source, it's also a way to skip setting up farms, because I know I'm going to win the game before the farms start to really make sense. That's not to say that it's not in order to build farms, but this will give me a faster timing and a faster food income immediately. At the front of the base, I've got 5 longbows and that 1 man at arm. I'm not going back until he has enough units to take that out. I'm just constantly circling, applying pressure. The whole point of this is he needs to be base locked. I'm going to have to starve him from resources, and then I'm going to have to see how long I can keep him in feudal age, because if I'm in castle age and I've got man at arms with 2 or 4 ranged armor in the English case with armor clads, then I have a sort of huge advantage when it comes to fighting under TCs and other emplacements. Around the boar, I built these walls here. I built them kind of far out so archers cannot reach. And the reason I don't build a tower is because there's 8 villages. Here there's 5, so 8 in total. And these walls here will give me enough time to go back and try to deal with it. I'm building a tower on the gold because I have no vision here. And I know he has horsemen. So I'm building a couple of spears as well. 1 spear here to defend while I build the tower. And then all the spears, which is 3 in total, go to my main army. I know he's going to be up here on the left side. So that's where my other harassment force here goes. I see he's walling, which is really bold, right? I can 2-shot his villas with 5 archers here. And so the whole idea is, the more villager kills I get, the better. He isn't 2DC, so he's ahead. But I end up doing so much damage here that this second TC lost so much value. So he loses in total 5 villages here. He has some units. I'm not sure how many he has, so I'm not going to try to pull these away. I'm going to try to get as many villager kills as possible before we move on to the next step in the game. As you can see, for the macro, I'm going Castle Age. I can see there's some low villages here, so I can move under the towers. I would not really advise doing this if the villages were all full health and with textiles, for example. These are not. 4. Now comes the H-up. I'm going to H-up with a lot of villages here. I want the TC online, but most importantly, I want to start collecting relics, and I want upgrades on my units, and I want also better units in terms of man-at-arms H3. I want to get a blacksmith when I H-up and some more barracks plus a mosque. That's the idea here. So the way that I macro it is a little bit onto food, keep the 8 on gold, never H-up with your gold villages. You always want to H-up with your wood or food villages. Most of the time it's going to be the food villages if you don't have the production to immediately start producing, because you might need the wood to build more production buildings. The gold you obviously need for upgrades. There's no point in going H3 if you don't have gold, because you need the gold for upgrades. So that's why we keep them on the gold. Keep circling, just checking the berries down here. I cannot really stay down here for too long, or up here for too long, because if he builds up enough units, he can cut me off and he can wipe my units. The board here, the villages are set to go to the deer afterwards. That's just a queued up decision. In the front here, I'm building blacksmith, barracks. I'm on 3 racks. I've got 2 monks collecting all the relics. Still, I have a lot of map control right now, so the monks can just go out by themselves. I know there's a relic here, another one over here, and the last one is here. You always want to scout where all 5 relics are, so you can keep track of when they're being taken, and if you are to take them yourselves, where to go. You don't want to be in a situation where you only know where 2 relics are, but you have such a good advantage that you could potentially take 5 of them. So always scout out all the relics. That's really important. I've got the upgrades. I've got man-at-arms upgraded. I'm getting some other eco upgrades as well, such as horticulture and double products. Most importantly is that you get the ranged armor. You want to get ranged armor pretty much in a situation like this where you are the first to castle and you're going man-at-arms. You want to get ranged armor as quick as possible, especially ranged armor +2. I state this a lot in my stream, that this is one of the best upgrades in the game. +2 ranged armor makes it so that your H3 man-at-arms are able to tank TC fire pretty much with, no problems. No archers can do damage to them. If you are going in with man-at-arms and they have 4 armor plus no ranged armor, feudal age archers will do pretty well against them, but you want your opponent to not do so, of course. So what you do is you get +2 ranged armor. With English, we can also get the armor clads, and so all of a sudden these guys get super tanky. They also get the +2 melee. Melee armor is not really super important unless you're fighting, I don't know, like Palace Guard versus Palace Guard or something crazy. All you want to get is ranged armor, and then you can do like Military Academy for faster production. You've got a lot of damage already. Pretty much all the other blacksmith upgrades at this stage, where you're just running man-at-arms and not a lot of ranged, it's just on over the top, I guess. A couple crossbows are out. I've got a few longbows. I'm sniping the crossbows with them as I'm going onto the TC now. This is where I'm trying to end the game. I'm going onto the TC with man-at-arms and the longbows. Longbows are focusing the crossbows. There's not a lot of them. And the man-at-arms just A-moved, pretty much. You can micro these a little bit, but pretty much what I'm doing here is longbows on crossbows, spearmen on horsemen, so that my longbows don't get taken out. And then man-at-arms are A-moved. That's the whole point. New units are being rallied forward. And at this stage of the game, I'm almost going to get my armor clad. I have my +2 ranged armor. So none of these archers really do anything significant. This means that this whole fight here, I have a huge tech advantage. And this fight is, I don't know, it's the same as fighting like 10-1, even though it's pretty much even in unit count. I can go under the TC now. It doesn't matter if his villagers are inside the TCs or not, because I have 4 ranged armor, which means the TCs deal 1 damage. They would do that even without the ranged upgrade. Under the TC here, the camels get taken out pretty much. I'm still taking the relics. I'm just going to pause here because I'm about to win the game. Still taking the relics. This is not something I can just pause. You keep trying to get more and more advantages, and then I keep building up. I'm making more farms as I'm playing the game right now, because this game, I might not succeed here. Let's say he had a few more crossbows over here, and he took out my man-at-arms. Having follow-up is better than going all in, because it's a more safe way to play. So I'm naturally scaling my economy, going on to the farms now because the bonus from the mill is so good. I could go on the deers, but then again, I have the resources to do the farms, and they're actually really strong. So that's the reason for that. Under the TC, you're fighting. Longbows are always targeting the crossbows. And then the only thing I really have to be scared of here is the camel lances, but there's a very low number of them. So the man at arms do a lot of base damage. I can do a lot of damage to the lances that way. So yeah, this is pretty much the strategy for someone to play defensive from the Dark Age. Just try to disrupt them and then use that opening, that tempo you build up there to try to gain the maximum advantage, I guess you could call it. So go castle or go second TC yourself or some crazy stuff like that. You have so many options in a game like this where you apply pressure from early on and your opponent sticks with the second TC, especially in his base. So yeah, that's pretty much how my thought process was with this game. If you have any questions about all of this, I know this was a lot of information, then ask them below. I'm always going to be doing my best to answer those questions. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Check out the Twitch. And if you're interested in coaching, then there's going to be some details about that right now.